On this quiet December morning, dear friend, I wish you could sit here beside me for a moment. The house is still, the kettle is warm, and a soft winter light is drifting across my kitchen table, the same way old holiday memories drift across the heart. This is the time of year when creativity feels a little bit like comfort, and even the simplest, handmade touch can turn an ordinary corner into something gently magical. That is why today, I want to take you by the hand and walk you through a dozen Christmas ideas made almost entirely from Dollar Tree finds. Not because we need to impress anyone, not because our homes must look perfect, but because creating something beautiful with our own hands reminds us that joy doesn't have a price tag. It only needs time, imagination, and a quiet willingness to play. Before we begin, let me tell you something I've learned from years of decorating on a shoestring. Luxury isn't really about buying expensive things. It's about noticing the small details, the soft texture of a ribbon, the calm glow of a candle, the way greenery spills over the edge of a vase. When we understand these details suddenly, the simplest, most affordable materials begin to look high-end. Throughout this video, I'll show you how to take everyday items and give them that warm, polished feeling we usually only see in catalog photos. And I promise these projects are gentle, easy on the hands, and kind to the budget. By the end, you might even find yourself smiling at how capable and creative you still are. Continue. Let's begin with something soft and familiar. Something that brings comfort the moment you see it. A Christmas pillow. You know, I've always believed that a pillow can change the mood of a whole room. It's like slipping a fresh cover over an old memory. When I wandered through Dollar Tree last season, I spotted a pair of tapestry placemats tucked away on a lower shelf. They had that classic old-fashioned charm that reminds me of the holiday decor you used to see in cozy mountain lodges or in the window of an old department store downtown. They weren't fancy, but there was something nostalgic in the pattern, like a quiet echo of Christmases long before the world got busy. Now the funny thing is, high-end stores like West Elm and Pottery Barn are selling nearly identical pillows for prices that would make anyone raise an eyebrow. And that's when a little spark lit up in me. Why not make my own? So I brought those placemats home and treated them not as cheap finds, but as raw material with potential. With just some hot glue and old pillow insert I wasn't using, and a few slow, mindful minutes, those placemats transformed into a decorative pillow that looks far more expensive than it is. What I love most is how accessible the process is. No sewing, no complicated steps, nothing hard on the wrists. Just gentle crafting at your own pace. Projects like these remind me that sometimes the most luxurious things in life are the ones we create ourselves. Not because they're perfect, but because they carry a little piece of our time and attention. Now let's wander into something a little more sparkling, because what is Christmas without a touch of shimmer? I remember standing in the holiday aisle at Dollar Tree, holding one of their large, plain ornaments in my hand, and thinking how it felt like a blank canvas waiting for a story. High-end stores love to sell ornaments with tiny, delicate details, golden dots, velvet bows, soft, reflective finishes, and they charge more than $20 for a single one. Beautiful, yes, but goodness. That price can take the joy right out of decorating. So instead of buying one, I thought of my friend Margaret, who once told me that every ornament carries a memory, not a price tag. That simple truth gave me the courage to try making my own. It only took a few items: the basic ornament, a strand of jeweled trim, a ribbon I had tucked away from last year, and a steady hand. Snipping the jewels apart felt almost therapeutic, like trimming tiny pearls for something special. A single dab of hot glue here, a gentle press of the trim there, and suddenly the ornament began to look like something you'd see hanging on a boutique display. When I tied a velvet ribbon around the top, it lifted the whole design into that high-end, magazine-worthy look without ever touching a luxury budget. The best part is how forgiving the process is. If the dots aren't perfectly spaced, or if the ribbon sits slightly off to one side, it only adds character. It reminds us that handmade things aren't meant to be flawless. They're meant to feel personal. And when you place an ornament like this on your tree, something you shaped with your own hands, it brings a softness money simply can't buy. Every now and then, a simple object surprises you. That's exactly what happened the day I wandered past Dollar Tree's wall of Christmas gift bags. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just strolling the aisle the way you browse through memories in an old photo album. Then I saw a gift bag with artwork that looked like it belonged in a boutique shop, all rich colors and classic holiday charm. It made me pause the way something unexpectedly beautiful always does. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with it, but I knew it needed to come home with me. A few days later, while cleaning a cabinet, I came across a frame I had picked up years ago at a thrift store. It was one of those antique frames with a little wear on the edges, the kind that tells its own story. Suddenly it clicked. What if this gift bag wasn't just a bag? What if it was art waiting to happen? So I trimmed it down, smoothed the edges, slipped it behind the glass, and just like that, the entire thing transformed. The print that once cost $1 looked as though it came straight from a seasonal gallery wall. What I love most is how approachable this project is. There's no pressure, no right or wrong results, just creativity at its most gentle. And if your hands aren't as steady as they used to be, that's perfectly fine. The frame and print do all the work for you. You simply guide them together. Now this little piece of art sits on my kitchen counter, adding a touch of warmth to the room every time I make coffee. It's a reminder that beauty often arrives in humble packaging, waiting for someone with a kind heart to notice it. There's something charming about those tall displays of stacked presents you see in store windows each December. They always make me think of childhood, when even a single wrapped box felt like a doorway into wonder. So when I noticed a roll of beautiful wrapping paper at Dollar Tree, thick enough to look elegant, but still gentle on a budget, I felt that old spark of inspiration flicker again. I had a few leftover boxes at home, the kind that pile up from deliveries, and instead of tossing them into the recycling bin, I wondered if they could become something festive, something that felt tall and graceful beside the tree. This little idea came together with the help of a broom handle, of all things. My husband taught me a trick years ago. If you draw a straight line from corner to corner on a box lid, the place where the X meets is the exact center. It's such a simple method, but it makes projects like this so much easier. Once we marked the centers, we cut holes, slid the broom handle through, and added a smaller box inside the base to keep the pole steady. Nothing heavy, nothing complicated, just thoughtful little steps taken at a comfortable pace. Then came the wrapping, and I'll tell you what, it was surprisingly soothing. The sound of the paper, the crisp, folds the way the tape settles, there's something almost meditative about it. By the time the last bow was tied, the tower of gifts stood nearly as tall as I am, bright and welcoming, like a cheerful greeter at the foot of the Christmas tree. And that's the magic of projects like this. They remind us that with a few quiet minutes and a handful of simple supplies, we can create moments of joy that feel much bigger than the effort they take. There's a certain charm to those old-fashioned candle holders, with the little side handle, the kind you might imagine someone carrying through a drafty hallway in a classic holiday novel. I never paid much attention to them until I noticed they were quietly making a comeback in modern decor. It seems we're all craving a bit of nostalgia these days, a touch of the simple, glowing warmth our grandparents knew well. So when I spotted a small metal candle holder at Dollar Tree tucked between seasonal items, I paused. It wasn't much to look at in that moment, just a plain little piece sitting under the store lights, but sometimes potential whispers instead of shouts. I thought back to a conversation I once had with my aunt years ago. She used to collect antique lanterns, and she told me that the secret to bringing old pieces back to life wasn't to change them completely, it was to gently highlight what made them charming in the first place. With that in mind, I brought the little candle holder home and gave it just the slightest refresh. A thin coat of matte black spray paint, not too heavy, not too glossy, was all it needed to shift from discount find to something worthy of a mantel display. When it dried, I tied a soft ribbon around the base, and the transformation felt complete. I placed it on a shelf next to a stack of Christmas books, and suddenly it looked like it had always belonged there, quiet, timeless, and softly glowing. What I love most about projects like this is that they don't require strength or precision, just patience. Just a willingness to see beauty where others might not look twice. And in a season that often rushes past us, creating something simple and elegant with your own hands can feel like lighting a small candle inside yourself. If the vintage look isn't quite your style, let's step into something a little sleeker, a little more modern, because Christmas decor can be elegant without being old-fashioned. One day while standing in the candle aisle at Dollar Tree, I picked up one of those tall prayer candles they always carry. You've probably seen them 100 times and walked right past the way we often overlook things simply because they're familiar. But in my hands, that plain glass candle felt like a chance to create something quietly glamorous, something that could sit proudly on a dinner table or brighten a corner shelf without calling too much attention to itself. What inspired me was a memory from a holiday dinner years ago. A friend had arranged a few tall gold candles at the center of her table. And when the lights dimmed, those candles created the softest, warmest glow. It wasn't the fancy dishes or the elaborate meal that stayed with me, it was that light. So I wondered if I could recreate something similar without the hefty price tag. With just a roll of painter's tape and a can of gold spray paint, the transformation began. I wrapped the tape around the glass in vertical and horizontal lines, not worrying too much about perfect spacing. Imperfection in projects like this tends to look more artistic than anything else. When I removed the tape after painting, the candle revealed a pattern that looked intentionally sophisticated, almost like something from a designer catalog. For just a couple of dollars and a few gentle minutes of crafting, the result felt surprisingly luxurious. I nestled mine into a small floral arrangement with holiday greenery, and the glow was just as warm as the one I remembered from my friend's table. That's the beauty of simple projects. They turn ordinary objects into little moments of joy, one quiet brush of paint at a time. There's something deeply satisfying about taking two simple objects and turning them into something sculptural and striking. That's exactly what happened the day I wandered through the Dollar Tree kitchen aisle and found myself staring at a stack of plain plastic bowls. Nothing special, nothing elegant, just everyday bowls. But I'd been seeing those high-end pedestal vases and footed bowls all over home decor magazines, the kind that cost far more than most of us care to spend. And standing there in that tiny aisle, I couldn't help thinking, why couldn't I make one myself? It reminded me of a story a neighbor once told me. She grew up in a time when families didn't buy decor, they made it. Her mother once turned two mismatched fruit bowls into a centerpiece that became the talk of the neighborhood. Creativity makes its own value, she told me. Those words floated back to me as I held those plastic bowls, and suddenly the idea didn't feel silly at all. It felt doable. At home, the process flowed gently. I took both bowls outside and gave them a smooth coat of matte black spray paint, letting each layer dry slowly in the cool afternoon air. When they were ready, I used a strong adhesive to join them together. One bowl upright, the other flipped upside down like a pedestal. I placed a filled water bottle on top to help them bond as the glue cured using gravity as my quiet helper. The next morning, I set the finished piece on my table and added a bit of floral foam along with a handful of simple greenery. a few dried orange slices, some berry sprigs, and suddenly the arrangement looked like something you'd find in a boutique shop. It's amazing truly how two humble bowls can become a graceful focal point with just a little vision and a few unhurried minutes. Every seasoned crafter knows that not every idea works out the way we imagine it. And honestly, those moments teach us just as much as the successes. I had originally planned to make one of those laundry basket tree collars everyone was raving about online. You've probably seen them too, people cutting patterns into the plastic, wrapping them in pretty paper, turning them into designer-looking bases for their Christmas trees. Well, I tried. And let me tell you, dear friend, sometimes the materials simply have a mind of their own. The basket was too narrow for my tree, the paper refused to stay put. And after a few minutes, I felt that familiar nudge inside that says, it's time to pivot. So I took a breath, set the basket aside, and started again with cardboard and a few beautiful oversized gift bags I'd picked up from Dollar Tree. These weren't flimsy ones. They had rich patterns, deep colors, and that elegant finish that makes a bag look like it came from a boutique. Suddenly, the whole project felt lighter, easier, and far more forgiving. I cut the cardboard into panels that would wrap around the base of my tree, then glued the gift bags onto the surfaces like wrapping a present. It felt gentle and meditative, each stroke of glue smoothing out frustration and turning it into something calm. To make the collar fold around the tree, I taped the seams like little hinges, leaving enough flexibility to shape it before sliding it into place. I even used trimmed pieces of the gift bag to finish the edges, creating polished corners that looked surprisingly professional. When I set it beneath the tree, it didn't just look good, it felt personal, intentional, like a small victory born from letting go of what didn't work and embracing what did. Gingerbread decor has a way of warming a home before a single light is even plugged in. There's something about those soft brown tones and simple white accents that feels like childhood, like flower-dusted kitchens and quiet winter evenings. This year, gingerbread pieces were everywhere in the high-end stores. Beautiful, yes, but priced so high, it made me smile and shake my head. I remember standing in one of those stores years ago admiring a gingerbread house that cost more than my entire holiday grocery list. I told myself then one day, I'll find a way to make my own. And as it turns out, Dollar Tree delivered that opportunity in the sweetest way. I found a few of their small plastic village houses and even a couple of tiny doll houses in the toy aisle. They didn't look like much at first, bright colors, shiny surfaces, a bit cartoonish. But I saw potential hiding behind all that gloss. That's the funny thing about creativity. Sometimes it taps you on the shoulder when you least expect it. So I brought them home, set them on my table, and gathered a can of brown spray paint, along with a simple white paint pen. The transformation happened slowly and gently. Each coat of brown softened the plastic, turning those little houses into something warm and cookie-like. When the paint dried, I used the white pen to add icing little scallops along the rooftops, dots along the windows, simple lines that looked like sugar drizzles. It reminded me of decorating real gingerbread cookies with my children years ago, the way we'd lean close to keep our hands steady, laughing when a line wobbled. And just like those cookies, these houses didn't need perfection. They only needed personality. Once those first little houses were finished, I felt a wave of inspiration settle over the room like falling snow. You know that feeling when a small spark of creativity suddenly expands into a whole winter scene in your mind? I remembered reading once that decorating is really just storytelling with objects. And in that moment, I wanted my home to tell a story of warmth, sweetness, and handmade charm. So I looked around for more pieces that could join the gingerbread village. A pair of Dollar Tree candlesticks caught my eye, as well as a small vase I'd nearly donated months earlier. Funny how things find their purpose when we slow down enough to notice them. I gave them the same treatment as the houses, a smooth coat of brown spray paint and a patient few minutes of drying time. As the color deepened, the shapes began to resemble those old-fashioned gingerbread displays you'd see in festive bakery windows. Then came the part that always feels like magic, the icing details. With the white paint pen, I traced tiny swirls along the vase, dotted the candlesticks with gingerbread-style patterns, and added little decorative lines that reminded me of the lace cookies my grandmother used to bake during the holidays. When I stepped back, everything looked wonderfully cohesive, like it belonged to the same cozy village. Each piece carried its own character, but together, they felt like a collected memory, soft, whimsical, and comforting. And that's the beauty of working with inexpensive materials. You're free to experiment without fear. If a line wiggles or a swirl turns out uneven, it becomes part of the charm. These little imperfections make the pieces feel more human, more heartfelt, and far more meaningful than anything store-bought. By the time all the pieces were finished, my kitchen counter looked like a tiny workshop, brown houses lined up in a row, candlesticks drying quietly, little flecks of white paint still clinging to my fingertips. It reminded me of the holiday afternoons when my kids were small, and the table would disappear beneath crayons, glitter, and half-finished crafts. There was a kind of gentle chaos to it, the kind that fills a home with warmth instead of worry. And with that familiar feeling in my heart, I carried the finished gingerbread village over to the windowsill above my sink. The afternoon light was slanting in just right, soft and cool the way winter light often is. As I arranged the houses, the candlesticks, and the little vase, something beautiful happened. The pieces didn't just sit there, they created a scene. A tiny, wintry, gingerbread-inspired world that felt welcoming and bright. To add a little extra sparkle, I tucked in a few snowy white ornaments I had found at Dollar Tree, the kind that shimmer softly rather than shine. When the evening came and I turned on the house lights, the whole display glowed like a memory you can almost step into. What surprised me most wasn't how lovely everything looked, as satisfying as that was, but how peaceful the whole process felt. Creating something slowly, thoughtfully, without rushing, it settles the spirit. I've come to believe that the older we get, the more meaningful these small, quiet projects become. They give us a sense of purpose, a sense of presence, and a gentle reminder that beauty doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate. It just needs a bit of heart. There is something incredibly gentle about soft winter light, especially the kind that glows through frosted glass. It reminds me of early mornings long ago when I would wake before everyone else and watch the world slowly brighten behind a thin layer of winter fog. That memory came back to me the day I picked up a few simple Dollar Tree picture frames. Nothing fancy, nothing heavy, just light little frames with clear glass. And yet as I held them, I imagined a lantern that felt peaceful and elegant, the type of decor you might find on the windowsill of a cozy mountain lodge. So I brought 4 frames home and set them on my kitchen table. With slow, patient hands, I pressed sheets of frosted window film onto the glass, smoothing out the edges until they looked like panes touched by winter. I added delicate snowflake decals, just a few here and there, letting them scatter softly like the first snowfall of the season. Once everything felt just right, I glued the frames together, forming a gentle, glowing box that looked surprisingly refined for something made from dollar items. When I placed a small LED candle inside, the light drifted through the frosted panels in the most beautiful way, casting soft shadows around the room. It wasn't bright or dramatic. It was calm, soothing, almost meditative. A small lantern, yes, but it carried a certain grace that filled the whole corner where it sat. This project reminded me that elegance doesn't always come from expensive materials. Sometimes it's born from slow crafting, kind hands, and a willingness to see beauty in the simplest forms. Garlands have always felt like the heartbeat of Christmas decor to me. They stretch across mantels and stair rails like gentle whispers of the season, softening the edges of a room and inviting people to slow down. But certain garlands, the lush, expensive ones you see in catalogs, can feel far out of reach. That's why I adore this simple upgrade, using nothing more than a Dollar Tree garland and a spool of velvet ribbon. It's proof that even the thinnest, most modest greenery can look luxurious with just a thoughtful touch. I remember a Christmas dinner many years ago at a friend's home. She had a velvet runner on her table, and the moment I walked in, my eyes went straight to it. Velvet has a way of pulling you in. It's soft, grounded, and warm all at once. That memory inspired this DIY. I took my Dollar Tree garland, fluffed it gently to give it fullness, and then wove a strand of wide velvet ribbon through it like a soft red river. Every few inches, I let the ribbon billow slightly, creating little waves that caught the light. To make the garland feel even more special, I added a few small metal bells also from Dollar Tree. They make the faintest sound when the air shifts, a delicate reminder that the season is alive, even in stillness. When I hung the finished garland across the top of my bookshelf, the entire room gained a quiet richness. What I love most is that this upgrade doesn't require strength or precision, just gentle hands and a calm mind. And when you see the finished look, it feels like your home is wrapped in a soft holiday hug. There's a certain beauty that only winter can bring, those sparkling mornings when frost clings to every branch, turning ordinary things into tiny works of art. That same quiet magic inspired this crystal snow bowl centerpiece, made from the simplest Dollar Tree supplies and a bit of Epsom salt. It's one of those projects that feels almost therapeutic because the transformation happens slowly, gently, right beneath your fingers. I began with a clear glass bowl, the kind many people pass by without a second glance. But I knew the transparency would make a perfect canvas. I brushed a thin layer of Mod Podge around the outside, taking my time, letting the strokes overlap lightly like falling snow. Then came the moment that always makes me smile, rolling the bowl across a tray of Epsom salt. The tiny crystals clung instantly, forming a sparkling layer that looked just like frozen frost. As the bowl dried, I prepared a few small touches to place inside some soft evergreen sprigs, a small LED candle, even a few leftover dried orange slices from another project. When I set the candle in the center and watched the light glow through the salt-covered glass, it reminded me of frosty windows from my childhood, when we'd press our hands to the cold panes and admire the patterns winter painted there overnight. The final look is gentle, cozy, and wonderfully calming. And the process itself is easy on the hands. No cutting, no heavy lifting, just smoothing, sprinkling, and waiting. It's the kind of project that invites you to slow down and simply enjoy the season, one quiet sparkle at a time. Before we wrap up our time together today, I want to share a little decorating secret that a designer friend once whispered to me over hot tea many years ago. I remember the moment clearly because her home always had that effortless magazine glow to it. And I used to wonder how she managed it without spending a fortune. She leaned in and said very simply, "Velvet ribbon, added everywhere." At first I laughed, thinking she was joking. But she explained that velvet has a natural richness to it, soft, matte, and slightly weighty, that instantly elevates even the humblest decor. Tie it around an ornament loop, it through a wreath, let it cascade from a garland, or lay it across your table runner. No matter where you place it, that subtle texture brings depth and warmth in a way nothing else can. And she was right. Over the years, I've seen even the simplest Dollar Tree project come alive when dressed with a strip of velvet ribbon. But beyond the ribbon itself, there's a lesson tucked inside that advice. Beauty often hides in the smallest details. A gentle texture, a soft glow, a thoughtful touch. These are the things that make a home feel loved rather than decorated. And as we move through different seasons of life, those small touches matter more than ever. They remind us that our hands still create, our ideas still matter, and our homes still deserve care and imagination. So as you think about which project you might try first, I hope you take pride in the fact that creativity doesn't fade with age, it deepens. It becomes wiser, more intentional, more soulful, and it brings a quiet joy that no store-bought piece can match.